So I guess that brings us to Act 3 of our podcast.
The Majestic. This was my choice for our podcast, so let's watch the trailer for The Majestic.
You and me just drive up the coast till the sun comes up. Never come back.
The monkey.
The monkey. It's such a small
What
part
in
of
the
the
hell
film.
happened to you, son?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure.
Once upon a time, a stranger came to town,
You have no idea who you are or how you got here?
Blake.
only to discover he might not be such a stranger after all.
I don't even know who I am.
It's Luke!
Just look at him.
Seeing you walk down the street was like seeing one of my own boys alive again.
This town gave 62 of its young men to the war, more than our share.
This boy over here, Congress awarded him the Medal of Honor for courage, saving the lives of 8 men without thought to himself. His name was Luke. He was my son. That's who you are.
Best thing you can do is gently reintroduce the person to things that were once familiar.
Do you remember me?
No, but I'll sure try. We were in love, weren't we?
Yeah.
In a place like this, the magic is all around you. The trick is to see it. Now that you're back,
We're gonna reopen the Majestic.
I can't help wondering, where's Luke been all this time? I mean, 9.5 years.
Your father said I would start to remember things.
Well, what do you remember?
What happens if his memory does come back? Which life would he choose?
this town's had enough heartbreak. Who are you, really?
Just a guy trying to figure things out.
From the director of the Shawshank Redemption and the Green Mile comes the story of a man brought back to life and the town he brought back with him.
You don't know what you meant to this town suddenly being alive.
Jim Carey. The Majestic.
Okay, The Majestic.
Okay, so
All right.
that was a misclick on my part. Ignore that.
Directed by
so-
Frank Darabont.
Frank Darabont. All right, so I guess this is where I take the wheel. I start talking
Okay,
about The Majestic.
one thing. Just give me one comment here. So this movie has. I'm so mixed on this movie. So it has a lot of the things I like about a great 90s movie, like Matinee, for example. But it also has a lot of the things I don't like about 2000s movies. Because it's 2003, so it's kind of in that transitionary phase.
2001.
Oh, was it? Okay, even more so.
Yeah.
So
Okay, hold that thought.
super
hold that
mixed
thought.
on it. Yeah.
Okay, hold that thought. Okay, so The Majestic was a 2001 Frank Darabont film. It was basically his big opus after The Green Mile. He was high praise as a director around this time. So
Because he had done
there's a lot
Shawshank
of-
and then The Green Mile.
He done, yeah,
Bang,
and those
bang.
were like fucking grand slam movies, like serious heartstring movies. So there was a lot of weight on his shoulders for this new film, or for his latest film, which would at the time in 2001, which is The Majestic. In 1951, a blacklisted Hollywood writer, his name at the time was Peter Appleton. He is a writer for Hollywood. The film starts off. Yeah, he's a bit of a B movie guy. So the
Sand
movie
Pirates
starts
of the Sand Pirates of the Sahara.
Sand Pirates of the Sahara. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So the way there's something about this film the way I liked it. It starts off with him in a writing room, and there's people pitching ideas about a dog and a mine and all.
And
this
it's
stuff.
super meta at that point.
And it's super meta and all this stuff. And it cuts from that scene to him being at the Grand Chinese Theater in Los Angeles, which I've been to a degree. So that setup really pulled me into this movie because I was like, okay, cool, I can sort of get with this. And he
I
plays.
thought the
character named
meta
Peter.
stuff was trying to be a bit too clever. Like every time they were in that writer's room, they do it again later. They're just talking about the Majestic. They're talking about that movie. Like,
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't, because I really wasn't paying attention too much to what they were.
Go back and watch
about
any of those writers' room scenes. They're just talking about the Majestic through his movies. It's like this movie is a bit too heavy-handed for me. Everything that he's trying to do too hard.
Okay. Hold your thought.
Yeah,
Let me finish the plot first. Right.
Yeah.
So, 51 a blacklisted Hollywood writer named Peter Appleton. He's having his film.
Well, he
debut
wasn't
with
blacklisted.
Well, he wasn't blacklisted when he's having his film debut, The Sands of Sahara Desert. It starts with a narration about him like, oh, it feels great to have my name on a poster. I'll never get through this. He's got the perfect film writer lifestyle. He's dating the actress of his dreams in the first movie that he made.
Just like Woolsey.
Just like Woolsey.
They'll date their main actress.
Like his actress that he was dating, which I didn't catch her name, Amanda Detmer, played Sandra Sinclair. Beautiful woman. Watches this film, and then he's in contract negotiations to get a new deal and all that stuff, and then it comes to light that he has been going to communist parties, and he
went to one communist party.
Went to one communist party because he wanted to chase some puss. He was looking for a lady, and he decided to get his dinky stinky.
But that's McCarthy era stuff, man. One commie party was enough.
Yeah, it just took one. It just took one, and you were labeled a commie, and you were part of a witch hunt. So this man becomes a part of said witch hunt, and he's watching his entire career as a film writer become blacklisted. Nobody wants to touch him.
They cancel his
Doesn't
film.
want to. Yeah. They cancel his film. They cancel the contract negotiations. So he does.
It's funny, but he described it. He's like, "Look at this movie. It's trash. It's all about the plight of the downtrodden and stuff. It's pure commie trash. Every word of it.
It's pure trash. It's about the people and the miners. It's pure commie trash. Yeah, no. Yeah. Who's that actor again? He played his role so well. He played role so well.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff. I'm not sure.
Bob Balaban. He plays Elvin Clyde. He plays that Weasley paper nerdy guy. Anyway, so Peter Appleton gets blacklisted. He does what any sane man does in a situation like that. He goes to the bar and he gets himself lambasted drunk after clearing out his office, and he brings his monkey with him. He's got his pet monkey and
steals the monkey from the bar. Actually,
no, the monkey came from his office. So he brought the monkey from his office to the bar. Yeah, he brought the monkey from his office to the bar, and he's sharing some drinks with said monkey, and his life breaks down. And I think he gave the bartender $100 tip just because the bartender was talking to him. Because
he's like, you took a risk even talking to me, thanks.
Yeah.
But it was a 50, so I'm pretty sure it was like a 5.
Yeah, so he's like, let's go for a drive up the coast. Let's have a little spin.
And he's
go up to
hammered. This is like one of the biggest drunk driving scenes you'll see in a movie. He was hammered.
Yeah, and he's going up the fucking Gold Coast of Los Angeles, California, which if you've ever played
Cliffy.
San Andreas GTA 5. Is it Cliffy? Yeah, it's a lot of cliffs and it's a long, windy road. So doing it drunk ain't no good. He eventually gets a little drunk. A possum crosses the road. And he fucking hits a wall. The barrier breaks pretty easy. Now this is a moment in the movie where I'm like, why don't you just get out of the car, my guy?
I thought I caught a continuity error there. Well, he didn't get out of the car because he's drunk. You can just say that.
That's fair.
I'm pretty sure at the point where he hits that guardrail, the monkey's not in the car with him anymore. Because the whole time the monkey's sitting beside him in the car, but I think it's a continuity error and they forgot to put the monkey back in the car because I was looking hard and you can't see any monkey.
Well, I mean,
continuity error.
Is it a continuity error or did the force of the crash knock the monkey out of the car?
We'd have seen it. We'd have seen the monkey go flying.
Maybe. But we'll strike it down as a continuity error. Good eyes on you. Good eyes, eagle eyes. Anyway,
I thought the monkey was going to be a big thing, so I'm looking for the monkey. Like, because his, not to jump ahead of you a little bit, but he ends up in the water, the car. So yeah, I thought the monkey was going to float to the top, and you'd see the monkey float, because that's what happens in movies. If there's a monkey, you're going to see the monkey again. And I thought it was just going to like float downstream or something, but you never see it again because it wasn't in the car.
I forget the term. It's that smoking gun term. Anyway,
yeah.
So hits the wall. He's about to adjust, and then it starts downpouring rain after a crack of lightning. He spins out, goes in the water, and like he hits the water head first. Like car flops, hits the water. I was like, oh damn! Like that actually, like damn.
Because he's in a convertible, so which he's lucky because he could kind of fall directly into the water away from the car.
Again, this leads to this was all practical sets. This was a practical car that crashed into the water, right? And then there was a scene to sell the whole, like, him in the river. They made the practical car pop up from the water and float behind him, right? Like, that shit was
Are we sure
cool.
that was a practical car?
That was 100% a practical car that they had fucking popping up.
It would have looked good had it
behind
not
him.
been, so I believe it.
Right? Like,
there's some bad CGI and the green screening in this movie, so...
Exactly. There's no way they pulled that scene off. It looks super good. So they had some sort of mechanics popping it out of the water and floating down. And then he goes down and he fucking cracks his head off a stone wall. And this is how our main character loses his memory and he wakes up on
the amnesia trope I don't usually enjoy, I gotta say. It's kind of cliche. It's too just cause. Look, he only remembers these things. He doesn't remember these things because that's exactly what we need for this movie. That never works for me.
And I'm going to talk about that a bit more. So he wakes up on the beaches of Lawson, which is a strong theme because this movie is the only.
He's called that later. He's called that later.
This movie. He's Lawson's favorite lost son. Yeah, no, this movie is a slice of Americana apple pie.
Oh, like, it is.
It's from beginning to end.
Too much for me.
Too much. It's so fucking overbaked and oversweetened Americana that it starts to ruin the movie. This is the tipping point in the movie.
Okay,
because
I just have a theory about this whole thing. You're familiar with what Frank Darabont was going. The reason this is all so buttery and just lathered on with the Americana and the overdone. It's like even the music, like everything is trying to draw. Like I compared this to Star Trek Discovery earlier for Murphy. It's just trying so hard to pull emotions out of you that it fails because it's trying too hard. Now it doesn't completely fail because there are some nice scenes in this movie.
Yes, there were a few moments
so
that
hard.
managed to
and like Martin Landau is a bit overdone. He's a bit overacting, I find.
He does, but he's great in the film. I love a good Martin Landau. I've always been a fan of Martin Landau, especially since. And I want to know if you've seen this movie. Have you ever watched Ready to Rumble?
Is that the one with David Arquette or whatever?
Yes, it's the professional wrestling film.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Fuck, I love Martin Landau in that movie so much.
I can't remember.
So
that movie, but yeah.
He plays Gene LaBelle, like this like wrestling.
Oh wow, Gene LaBelle.
Well, Gene LaBelle-esque. Yes, Gene LaBelle's her guy. He plays.
So he's just an old tough guy. An old tough guy.
An old tough wrestler guy that teaches these kids the actual ways of wrestling. He's meant to be Gene LaBelle, basically. Okay. So Martin Landau plays a great Gene LaBelle in that movie. So I was like, oh fuck yeah, Martin Landau. So our main
guy who supposedly beat up Bruce Lee.
Apparently. So Jim Carrey, Peter Upton wakes up on this beach, complete amnesiac, and he finds himself in the town of Lawson, and everyone's like, you look really familiar, and that's when we get introduced to Martin Landau's character, who sees Jim Carrey walking past as he gets carried off to the doctor, and he plays the character of Harry Trimbleton, who lost his son Luke Trimbleton, and you find out Trimble or something like that. Trimble. Yeah, Trimble. Yeah, Trimble. Anyway, so Harry Trimble finds out that he thinks his son Luke Trimble's back alive, and this is a town that has lost 62 soldiers. Now, there are moments of this film that I like.
All of them except for one. Like, that town was crazy. Yeah. They sent like 63 of their young boys away to the World War II, and one came back without a hand.
Yeah, missing a fucking hand, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like that sort of examination of what war does.
The toll of war. That's what this movie does well.
The toll of war. Yeah, it like there's
and it does the McCarthy stuff too, but that's a bit heavy-handed. But it's
a bit heavy-handed on the McCarthy stuff. But the toll of war and the exact of on the town, it's really handled pretty beautifully.
Like they don't. That's not even heavy-handed. Like the one guy with the hand. Like Jim Carrey says to him at one point that because his wife asked him to dance and he's just like no, and Jim Carrey says to him, it's just like, seems to me if a pretty woman asks you to dance and you say no, then you came back more broken than just a missing hand. So, but what that character has is he has survivor's guilt. He's the only one in the town that survived. So he's punishing himself because he has survivor's guilt. He's like, no, I'm not dancing with a pretty woman. I don't deserve to dance with a pretty woman. I survived and everyone else died. And they don't actually call it survivor's guilt. They don't even get into it, but that's 100% what it is. And that part was very well done.
So, yeah, I was making notes when I was watching this. I'd had to say the scene he had with Bob in the street where he's just like, you're setting this town up for heartbreak, and I'm not about that. And then he fucking hauls off and like cocks him because he calls.
He's like, I never liked Luke.
Dancing.
I don't really like you either.
He's like,
I'm not saying you are
Luke.
Luke.
Something about Luke that, yeah.
But I don't like
the exact words were, Luke rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
There's something about people that just rub you the wrong way. And I'm not saying you're Luke, but you rub me the wrong way. Yeah. You know? And it's not the same. And
so the thing about this movie too,
Jim Carrey
I guess that's what it does well, but it's something I didn't necessarily enjoy about it, is because you know what's happening. Like it's very predictable movie. So because you know he's not Luke, the whole movie just makes you feel uneasy because everyone's pouring all this emotion and stuff into this guy that you know is a fraud, and you're just like,
yes, but he's not even a fraud. He's just he's a complete amnesiac, so he just kind of like fell into this moment. And his moment of realization later in the film, because after he spends months with these people and he starts to fall in love with Laurie Holden, who plays Adele Stanton. Laurie Holden she just holds a film together. Like,
she's good.
Oh my
God. And her father is played by
so
David Ogden Stiers, who's also amazing. Like, this has got some good actors in it.
Like, great actors in it. Like the mayor.
It's just too heavy-handed. Oh, the mayor.
Jeffrey Damon. Yeah, like so many good scenes. Like
my favorite thing is, okay, I'll talk about my favorite character. My favorite scenes kind of stem from that character when we get.
Okay,
to
hang on. Let me just wrap this up.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just finish the plot. So our character, he spends some time with the town, gets to know the people, and then upon watching his own movie, Sand Pirates of the Sahara, Small Jump, him and his father introduces the idea of building the movie theater back up, and I need to play this scene. Okay, sure. So I'm gonna sleep brief. This scene that happens in the film, I think, is an excellent speech and a testament to why we sort of watch movies. So I don't know what you got up going on here. Can you tell me?
Just them standing in the theater deciding to reopen it.
Yeah, all right, cool. So I'm just gonna play this real brief.
Yep. Oh, there's my favorite character right there. We're getting no volume from that, Murphy.
No volume?
No.
What the fuck?
Well, don't worry about that scene then. We got no volume on that scene.
Okay.
Nah, you're getting nothing.
All right, hang on. That is very peculiar because there was sound earlier.
She gone now. But, you know, his memory does come back. And I have something to say about the reason why that I thought was probably the best scene in this movie.
Still no sound?
Nah. Well, there's no sound because you don't have it clicked on. But I'll try.
Oh, hang on.
No. That one's broken. All right. So, just finish your plot. Or explain that scene. Nah, you got no sound.
Nothing at all. Okay, that's a real pain in the ass. All right. So at about 36 minutes into the movie, about 35 minutes in.
Of a 2.5 hour movie that could have been an 1.5 hour movie or hour 45.
I am looking around, and all I see is potential.
Yeah. All I see is potential. And he's just like, yeah, she's falling down. But
This
like the
place
guy's
is
been
flooded.
back for a day, and they're all like, "Here's what your new life is, and here's what you're gonna do, and we're gonna reopen the theater," and it's just all like,
Yeah,
thing
but
about this-
it's what he says about the theater that I found
Oh, yeah.
beautiful. That's
Yeah, I
what I
did
wanted
too.
to highlight here. So
yeah, he's like, people would come in and they'd give us their ticket. Didn't matter who they were. They could see a
once
film.
this
and,
place was like a palace.
they come in here and it's like a palace. Yeah, and look, here's a picture of what it looks like once they fix
Any
it.
man, woman, and child could buy their ticket, walk right in.
That's a gorgeous looking theater. You gotta say.
Yeah, like it was a very gorgeous looking theater, and like I'm so cheesed that doesn't work. Anyway,
Yeah, it's
so he talks about how everybody can walk into that movie theater and forget all of their problems and just enjoy getting out. And he said, okay, so he specifically speaks about what it means to go to the movie theater, what it means to go walk through those doors, forget your problems, get dressed out and go. Anybody could watch a movie on TV, but where's the people? Where's the audience? Where's the pageantry of going to the movie? You can't do that.
The
at home
pageantry is
watching a film
what
on
made
TV.
the Tingler great.
To a degree, but like
These movies connect well. We picked a good 3 movies.
yeah,
first.
they all connect well. They all have a connecting thing. I'll give you that. To fucking say the Tingler's great is just not.
I didn't say it was great.
You just did say it was great. That's what makes the Tingler
Oh.
great.
I did say that, didn't I? No,
Yes.
that's what it made it great in its day. Its pageantry.
In
not
its day,
pageantry.
sure, yes. The
Yeah.
pageantry of it is what made it great, and that is ultimately the main point. Is what I'm trying to express here is that going to the movies is a unique and excellent experience, and we should all strive to go to a movie theater to see a movie. Sitting at home and watching a movie, although entertaining, easy, and convenient, isn't the same because you're not with the audience enjoying the same things together. And that's something I wanted to highlight it. And that was probably one of the more important scenes out of this film.
Yeah,
So
and that sums up
they,
all 3
they
of these
rebuild
movies
the
pretty well.
Majestic. I'm just going to wrap up this plot. They rebuild the
Yep.
Majestic. And then watching his own movie, he quickly comes to the realization of who he actually is. And then this movie seems to go on for another hour longer than it needs to because it needs to wrap up all the McCartneyism commie storyline that it set up in the first half hour. Right?
Yep. And that took another hour. But that was that was some of the I don't know. Okay.
It
Now
was
I have
kind
to,
of
I have to
better,
jump in
but
with
like
my theory about Frank Darabont and what he was trying to do here now. So
yeah, this is a good time, and then we'll start talking about characters.
So you're familiar with Mr. Smith Goes to Washington? Jimmy Stewart?
No.
Okay. So that's a very famous movie and a very famous scene because Mr. Smith, Jimmy Stewart, goes to the Senate and does this big grandiose speech about, what makes America great and all this kind of stuff. And that's exactly the same scene basically that Jim Carey has to do in this. He has to stand up in front of the Senate committee and like do the exact same thing where he's just like, but this is the Constitution, it's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Frank Darabont wanted to do a modern Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And because that movie has resonated so much over the years and decades, that he was just super heavy-handed with everything. And what I mean by heavy-handed is just everything was too much. Every single scene lasts for either 5 seconds too long or 30 seconds too long or a minute too long. And that's every scene. And that could be a quick cut scene. Like there could just be a scene where he just takes a sip of water, which is already unnecessary, but you have to watch him take a sip of water for like 30 seconds. Everything is just too long, too drawn out. It takes you out of the movie because it adds boring elements to an otherwise okay film with good performances. But I think that's because he was just trying to have this resonant Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, something that would just carry on through the decades and people would talk about. And that's the way Jim Carrey talked about this movie in interviews when it came out. I remember the interviews. He's just like, I just wanted to put something good out into the world and things like that, right? So they were all pushing for this to be very profound, and it didn't. Yep, and it didn't. It didn't do what they wanted it to do, and
yeah, it was very.
I just think they tried too hard. And so let's talk about.
I don't know if it's that they tried too hard. I think it was just.
We're heavy-handed. Everything was so heavy.
Heavy.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I think it was it was heavy-handed as a term.
Overdone?
I wouldn't even use the word.
No,
it's
not
just,
the
it was
right
too
word.
polished. No, it was too polished. Everything was too polished. Everything was
too much.
perfect.
Too much. Just too not perfect.
No, everything was It was a perfect little town that like.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Nothing.
when
It
they
didn't
went
feel
to
like a real world. Like,
yes,
that's the thing about
exactly.
this-
The town
this
of
is
Lawson doesn't feel like a real world or any form of
like
city in anywhere really. Like
I don't
the
wanna
fact
put-
that they
Yeah.
they went okay. Just to give you an idea, like the scene where they go, they're like, we're gonna rebuild the Majestic. Let's go with a business proposal.
Mhm.
I'm watching that scene thinking, okay, they're gonna ask the town for like a budget to rebuild, but they don't ask the town for a
They ask them
budget
for
to
their
rebuild.
stuff.
They're just like, give us your broken shit and we're gonna rebuild the Majestic. And they're like, okay, cool, you can have all of our broken shit. Well, we've got some workers, we'll contribute our time and effort. I've got some tools at the workshop. Let me give you some of my tools from the workshop down the street. Oh, I've got a few things. And all of a sudden the town comes together to rebuild the Majestic. And they rebuild the Majestic, and then on opening night, the whole fucking town's like lined up block. Beautifully done. Heartstring emotions, all that shit. They're showing movies. And then Harry ends up fucking having a heart attack, and he misses
That
the
was too
change
much.
reel.
That was too much.
It was.
And
Did you change the reel?
like that's what I mean about they're just trying to pull the emotions out of you. Like they have him the buddy with his war letter and his scene. Like there's just a lot of
this
stuff.
and
a lot.
and
of
this is this.
now
is,
the reason
this
they
is
had
sort
Harry
of,
die that fell into the plot a little, where it's just like
It did. It fell.
he
It fell
didn't
into
ever
the
have
plot.
to know
it
that it
wasn't
wasn't
a bad
really
thing.
his son.
But this is an
that-
excellent sort of like barometer of like between the Tingler and the Majestic of like it's so much that it becomes like bad and good, right? And like they it's like the Tingler's fault was that
did
like
too
they
little,
were missing
perhaps.
polish. They did too
Yeah.
little in a sense. And then the Majestic was like
much.
too fucking much. But the
much.
Matinee was just right.
Oh,
it was
Matinee's
like
perfect movie,
in
man.
the Matinee, but like if you were to compare all these three together, the Matinee hits the sweet spot between just a little cheesy, just a little serious, just the right amount of entertaining.
We're gonna
The
rank these
Majestic is
in each other, but against each other at the end of the show.
yeah. The Majestic in and of itself is like there's really good scenes. There's some important dialogue. There's like really good lines. Like one of my favorite lines, for instance, was, "I'm leaving you, Jerry. I'm leaving, and I'm taking the monkey with me." You know, and he grabs the monkey. The river scene was all
That's
practical.
just that might not even have been written. That's just Jim Carey. He could have just said that, and they're like, "Oh, we'll keep that."
Yeah, exactly. That's very is one of his things. I feel like the moment they introduced the movie theater, that was when it like really pulled me into the movie. The one thing I did notice was shortly after he's like recovered on the beach and all that stuff, and he's introducing him to the house, and he falls asleep on the couch. My first thought is, you probably shouldn't be letting somebody with an obvious head injury just fall asleep on a couch like that.
I think apparently that's a myth. Your brain
No,
heals
that-
better when you're sleeping, so you don't actually have to keep.
I
people
mean,
awake.
there's a comedian who got like a head injury because a ball hit him in the chin, and he fell asleep. And when he woke up, he got a stutter. Now he has a lifelong stutter.
Well, that
So like,
could have just been a result of the injury, not a result of the sleep.
let's just put it this way: we're not medical professionals.
That's
Do not
true.
listen to us.
Fair
we're just spitballing here. 34 minutes into the movie, the first black person appeared. I was honestly expecting this movie from beginning to end to not have a person of color in it at all.
Okay,
I was
then
like
let's go to
looking
characters,
for it.
actors. So here's what I got to
Yeah.
say about that. Emmett, the black guy you mentioned, was easily my favorite character in this movie.
Yes, he
all
was
of
a
my
lot of
favorite
fun.
scenes he is in, and like there's only like 2 or 3 scenes that I really enjoy in this movie. The first one is just when Jim Carrey walks down in the basement and he realizes Emmett's living there, and Emmett's just like, "So you don't mind that I live here, huh?" He's like, "No, why do I mind?" He's like, "Just checking," because it's like, you know, he's suffers racism all the time and stuff like that. So he knows this guy isn't Luke, and the reason he knows is my favorite scene in the movie. and that's the piano scene. And there's a couple reasons why this is my favorite scene. One, because he plays some awesome jazz blues on the piano. But like, so this lady, the older lady who works at the theater, wants him to play the classical stuff that she taught him. But he just can't remember that because, of course, he has amnesia. But here's the thing. So there's a lot of documented evidence, and you can look at videos of this online and stuff, where even people with severe dementia or Alzheimer's, like they're vegetables. They can't speak. They can't feed themselves. They're vegetables, essentially. There's videos of this one fella, and there's a lot of documents of this, where they start to play. They know his favorite singer when he was younger. Favorite form was Cab Calloway. One of my favorites too. Cab Calloway's is awesome.
Damn good musician.
And they start playing it for him, and this guy who can't talk, hasn't said anything in years, starts singing along to it, every word. He doesn't remember anything, can't speak, but he can sing Cab Calloway because he loves it. So there's a lot of study being done into why music seems to implant itself in the human brain a little deeper than everything else. And not only that, after they play Cab Calloway for him, he's responsive for, anywhere from, 5 minutes to an hour after that. So he basically he gets all his cognition back because of the music. But as soon as you take the music away, he's back to a vegetable again. So that's what I saw in this scene. He's playing this blues jazz because it's the music he loves. So his brain remembers it even regardless of the amnesia. And like the old fellow with dementia in this video, that starts to bring back more cognition. That's in the part in the movie. I think Frank Darabont, or the writer, must have known about this psychological phenomenon, because that's when he starts to remember things. It was like directly after that scene. He remembers that song, and then he starts to remember.
I wouldn't say directly after that scene.
I think it is. But I think
he starts
that's
getting
what starts
pieces. But about 30 minutes after that scene, that's when like things start unraveling, and like he does eventually remember. The one thing.
But anyway, Emmett stuff. So he's like, I taught him that, even though he knows he didn't, because he just.
Yeah, no, you could tell he was like, oh, I got to give these people hope. I taught him that. Yeah. So
and the thing about the watch is the other thing I like about Emmett. The whole time he's just like, well, if we're opening theater, you got to buy me a watch. I need a watch, so we start the movies on time. And eventually he gets his watch and stuff. Good actor. I really like that character, Emmett.
Yeah, about that piano scene, when I was watching that, I liked how he's like, I don't know fucking classical music, because in reality, if you're a person that doesn't know how to play, you're not just gonna fucking know how to play the piano. Like, you're not just gonna pick it up. The moment, like, here's that's a perfect scene for me to be like, okay, I'm into this, I believe this. He's struggling to like perform music. Mm-hmm. He obviously doesn't know this is going to be a revelation that he's not the person they say he is. And then he just starts playing fucking jazz. And that is a moment where I'm like, you're losing me, movie. You're getting ridiculous. You're getting
because it's real. That's a real phenomenon.
Well, and yes, it's a real phenomenon, but that leads to the idea that his character always knew how to kind of play the piano. So like,
yes, his character did.
Well, they don't establish that. Well, yeah, but they
didn't establish that with Peter Appleton.
Yes, they don't establish with Peter Appleton that he plays the piano at any point in the movie.
But we don't get
up until that very moment. Well, for sure.
All we know about Peter Appleton is he made a movie called Sand Parts of the Sahara, and he went to a commie party.
Yes, I get that, but like again, you just I lost my train of thought, dude.
You didn't like the jazz.
It's not that I didn't like the jazz. The jazz was fine. What I didn't like was the fact that they're just like, oh, this character, you should just need to believe that he plays piano. Like, not everybody can play the piano. I don't expect a writer of movies to know how to play fucking jazz piano. So it's that little overarching yes, he could, but that overarching ham-fisted plot.
It's a lot of just cause.
Convenience.
Just cause. There's a lot of just cause.
Yes, there's a lot of just cause in this movie. A lot of plot convenience. A lot of everything's a little too perfect.
The amnesia is the first example. They're just like, And how he remembers movies. He forgets everything, but he always remembers the movies.
Yes, exactly. Like they're just not picking up on the things that he's actually remembering and like putting two and two together. Like this town's very in the disbelief that they want it to be this miracle, and he's very much like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and he's just rolling with the punches because again, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
To him, they're being nice to him.
No, there's a nice town and all that stuff. Like it was all that shit. It's just like those little moments of convenience are what pull me out of the movie ultimately. For instance, and we're gonna talk about this, the lighthouse scene.
That's the one. Yes, that is the one. It looks terrible.
Lighthouse scene.
It doesn't look as bad in this picture.
Yeah, in a still image, it doesn't look
like this background here. Like they're clearly just like pasted on top of it. It looks terrible when they could have just went to a lighthouse. Just drive to a friggin' lighthouse.
Let me take over for a second.
Okay.
Let me take over for a second.
There's
I got
another
this right
one.
up, pulled up right here.
Another
Yeah, let me take over.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lighthouse scene is by far the worst in the whole movie, and that's kind of when I was done with the movie. And they're like, "Oh, by the way, there's another hour and a half." It's like, "Oh my god!" But yeah.
So yeah, this whole scene was ridiculous.
Yep.
Like compositionally, like it's a pretty, like it's a good composition scene, like compositionally, but like between the color and like the way they present this scene, it is painfully obvious that it's a green screen. The way they shot it,
painful.
It's
painful.
like,
look at this.
This is so green screen. This is not a natural camera movement, right? You're not just gonna have a fucking dolly zoom in 30 feet off the ground. I think that's what adds
to like friggin' 60 feet off the ground. Like that's way up there.
Dude, yeah, like
it's a lighthouse.
This is not. Yeah, it's not a natural like camera setup, right?
No, it's
pretty. Like this is gonna be the background, but then it gets worse from here because then they go, let's have over the shoulder shot for shot, shall we? Let's just go over the shoulder and fucking. This is taking a minute to like load, but whatever. It'll do its thing. These shots,
those
were so obviously green screen. They were so fucking bad. Like this was the moment that really took you out of the movie.
Yep.
And you know he did this because he wanted to have this sunset, perfect lighting, all leading towards.
It's all too much.
Yeah, it's too much, right? And she gets the hiccups, and she's like, "There's only one thing that's gonna stop me from getting hiccups."
I hated this.
Kissing
I don't even
you.
want to talk about it. I hated it so much. Kissing doesn't take away the hiccups. It was the stupidest writing I've ever heard. I hated that line.
So god awful, and it was all built and designed for this shot. This shot here, it was all built and designed because Joe or fucking Frank Darabont's like, this is a gorgeous shot. I need to have this make sense.
Yeah.
And that by making that make sense, it turns out to be like the worst scene in the entire fucking movie. Easily. So bad.
So while we're on characters and actors, which performance would you hold up?
Ooh, Martin Landau, he really sells it as like the dad that just really wants to believe that his son is alive.
And you can imagine that even he knows it's not. Like everyone else comes to the realization that they're like, look, I always kind of knew. But he doesn't get that.
even on his deathbed, you're like you know, Jim Carrey's like, I'm not and he just like look at his eyes is like, yeah, he's like, I'm really kind of willing to accept this truth if you say it. And then he's like, not willing to say goodbye. And then he's like, okay, you're my son. And then he fucking dies with that fantasy. Like,
yeah,
sure, okay, what have you? Another character. I honestly, I did like Laurie Holden's character in it. I thought she was a pretty good leading actress. You know,
I liked her lawyer scene where she's telling him why he should stand up to the Congress.
Yeah, and just like trying to like keep him somewhat grounded. I wrote down 5549, the basement scene. I forget why I wrote that down.
Oh, the statue. They go down there with the statue.
Yeah, I thought the statue was cool.
Well, because they tease that early on. They're like, President Roosevelt gave us a statue, but we all felt too horrible to put it up. No one wanted to be reminded of their dead children, you know.
Yeah.
But then they put it. He puts it in front of the Majestic at the end.
Yeah.
But you know, and then there's the big.
I forget why that's.
There's the big Mr. Smith goes to Washington scene, which is him here with the Congress. And they're grilling him hard, and the lawyers are all just telling him to take the deal because they have a deal set up for him. They're like, look, you just have to admit to being a commie, say you're sorry, and you'll be fine.
Right. This is why I said the basement scene, because this scene was just so like out of the blue and random. He's just like sitting there.
Oh, that basement
dog
scene.
Waiting
I
for
like
him.
this.
Yeah,
scene.
this basement scene. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog just has this crazy stare too. He's like, "What's the dog's name?" He's like, "Dog."
Come on in.
No, Emmett's good, man. I like him.
Yeah. Yeah, the scene with Bob was so fucking good. Just like the way they like sort of like confronted each other.
Oh yeah,
the reopening I found was the reopening of the theater itself. I thought was a sweet scene, like how everybody came together. It was like that was the moment I think in the movie I was waiting for was the rebuilding of the whole theater. It was a little brief. I don't know if it was brief. I don't know if it was. I think there could have been. I don't know if there could have been more to it or not. I just, you know what? I think what it was Jim Carrey's character really just did the paperwork and played the piano, and then the rest of the town built the fucking theater around him. You know?
But you know what I think the biggest plot hole in this movie is? The performance I would hold up is Emmett. Pretty easily.
Yeah. He kept a bit of a grounding to it. You know, he was like, you know, this is why we're doing the theater.
Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, the town needs the theater, and he's just like, and the town needed you and everything. But the biggest plot hole in this movie is when he first walks into the town, and all these different people see him, and they're all just like, oh, you kind of look familiar. But through the rest of the whole movie, it's all about how close everyone in this town was, and how they all grew up together, and they all know each other so well. Anyone in that town would have recognized him right away. Not to mention, the father of his fiance says that. He's just like, oh, you know, you sort of look familiar. Your friggin' almost son-in-law you wouldn't recognize after 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's... That plot hole bothered me the whole friggin' movie. I was just like, what? Anyway.
Yeah.
His own father looks at him once and doesn't even notice, and he looks at him the second time. He's just like, oh my God, that's my son! Like,
yeah, and then like the pictures they show of Luke Trimble are like...
He just looks like Jim Carrey with a slightly... fatter
chubbier face. Like they're just like slightly photoshopped Jim Carrey, you know? Like they picked a body and then they kind of did a little Jim Carrey Photoshop on the face. And then this leads to, which I found to be one of the most shocking character reveals in the end of this movie, which was Luke Tremblay himself, played by Matt Damon.
Is that who that voice was? I knew I recognized
Matt
the voice.
Damon doing the voice of Luke Tremblay as
I knew it was somebody
Peter
I knew.
Appleton's, Peter Appleton's reading the final love letter that Luke Tremblay wrote to Holden's character, and it was Matt fucking Damon, and I was
there you have it.
Where did that come from? So I mean,
let's just discuss what we already did: the setting and aesthetic. Look, the settings in California, some of it looks okay when they're not using green screen, and the theater's gorgeous. So a lot of that's nice. But again, the green screening, not so great. That's about all I have to say about the setting and aesthetic. What about you?
I enjoyed the practical set pieces that they did use for the film.
The reel-to-reels and stuff were cool.
The reels, the theater, the like the lighting of the actual front of the Majestic, like that shit looks gorgeous.
Like, I don't know about you, but even at a theater now, I love seeing the beam of the projection coming out of the upper window. You know, like I love that light beam. There's just a few nice shots of that.
Yeah, no, they played the scenes of the theater really well. The more like daylight open street shots were good.
They're fine.
You know,
it was a colorful
that
town. Like
goddamn lighthouse
the
scene. Yeah, it was a
Mabel's
colorful
sign
town.
is quite colorful.
It was very. What was that film? It was a black and white film, but eventually becomes color. Do you know
Wizard
which
of
one I'm
Oz.
talking about? No, it wasn't Wizard of Oz. It was like specifically like Pleasantville. That's what it was called.
Oh, Pleasantville, right? Yep, with
Yeah.
Jeff Daniels.
Yeah. The film had the very Pleasantville, polished town vibes that like is just not existent these days.
Well, here's what I want to mention about the characters. We got past the characters, but the great thing about Matinee is not only are the characters great performances and good characters, but they all seem like real people. Whereas in a bad movie, which I may have to label the Majestic, we'll see, is other than the couple of characters they really want to focus on, like Jim Carey and Laurie Holden mostly, the other characters seem so fake. Like the scenes where they're like all in the restaurant and stuff, it's just so corny and unbelievable, and like nothing seems real. And I don't know if they're trying to do that to kind of put you into a different kind of world or setting or whatever, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah, it felt like the town of Lawson was like a vacation from the harsh reality of Los Angeles and the McCarthyism world around them, and he was in this little bubble of nostalgia that eventually gets bursted open, you know. I will admit though, the scene where like he goes through all the trial and he speaks his truth and he just walks out on Congress and they're just like, fuck it, let him go, you know.
Well, they have to because they don't want to murder him at that point because they all start cheering.
Yeah, because he literally just spoke for the First Amendment, and they're not going to shit all over that.
Luke Trimble's Medal of Honor and stuff, and he's trying to speak through that perspective. He's like, "What would you say to Luke Trimble?"
That scene was a
scene.
little infuriating. There was
It's the Mr.
sound
Smith
design. Yeah, like there was like all the audience is like they won't shut the fuck up so you can actually hear what he's saying.
But he keeps hammering. He won't stop hammering.
Yeah. And it's like, how can anybody hear what the fuck he's saying right now? And then he holds up the symbol, and then everyone's like,
"Yeah, it's
you know." And then he finishes.
Much. It's just too much. No one in that room would even notice that Medal of Honor. Like,
right? Like nobody behind him. Nobody like
things keep happening in this movie that just bother you, and it lingers throughout the movie, and you're just like, "Oh, these things are bothering me." So you know what? We have to ask ourselves something here, Murphy. No, not does it hold up. Does it measure up? And I'm going to answer this first, and I'm going to say it does not. It does not.
Now I need to get a little clarification. Does it measure up to films of the past, the films that we spoke of prior, or just measure up as a good movie in whole?
Well, just how it's kind of vague, like just how we ask ourselves, does it hold up in some sense? We're asking ourselves, can we watch it now in modern times and enjoy it? Does it measure up? Is asking that, but also asking, does it measure? For me, it's more of a question of, does it measure up to past movies? Because I think they're better. For you, you might have to ask yourself a different question, or just think of that question differently. But to me, does it measure up to? Because there are differences. There are differences between last century's movies and modern movies. And this one has too much of what I don't like of modern movies, which is that too much. Too many movies now are just too much. And it's not good much. It's just that you're just adding things. You just to put them in there. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like movies, every movie I've seen in the last, except for a couple. I love that Uncut Gems movie by Adam Sandler.
I haven't yet to watch that yet. I need to watch that.
That's a freaking great movie. And there's some other ones. But most modern movies now, I could easily cut a half hour out of. And they would be better. Even if they're only an hour and a half movies, it would be better as an hour probably. Like,
I would agree that
waste. There's so much waste. They don't need to be there. And they're doing it for like artistic vision and stuff like that. But it doesn't work all the time. And too often now, it doesn't. It's just waste. I don't like wasted dialogue or wasted scenes, and that's why I love like things, especially as far back as the Tingler. I'm not saying that era is my favorite, but nothing's wasted. Like you say, it rings to you kind of like exposition, but it's not wasted. Every sentence in that movie is needed to tell the story.
I don't think every sentence in the Tingler is needed. I think they probably could have done
Compared
a bit of story
to the Majestic.
They could have compared to the. Okay, listen. The
does
Tingler. There are moments in the
measure up?
Tingler. There are expositional scenes in the Tingler that they probably could have simply portrayed with visuals, but they ended up talking about it instead.
Maybe because they had the visuals. Not a lot of the science jargon.
Listen, there's a lot of exposition. Whether you want to remember it or not, there's a lot of exposition in that movie. Almost every scene in The Tingler is exposition of some form, not just the
Everything
main plot.
Ollie said was exposition.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of his scenes were in that movie. He had a lot of majority scenes in that movie between him and Vincent Price. And Vincent Price's scenes were exposition. A lot of the scenes between Vincent Price and his student were exposition. So, like, meh. That being said, does the Majestic measure up to the Tingler?
No, it doesn't measure up to the quality cinema of the past century. Because what we're asking about these old movies are, do they hold up to the standards of today? But to reverse that, you have to like picture in your mind.
I just figure I looked at it more as, do they hold up to like, are they movies that hold up in their rewatchability, like even to?
I would never watch The Majestic again.
I don't think I would ever watch The Majestic again either. Does it measure up compared to the movies of the past? To the Tingler, it's better. To the Matinee is better than the Majestic, in my opinion.
Okay, well, there's your rankings. That was going to be my next question, the rankings. The way I would rank these is slightly different. I would say easily Matinee is the best, and then the Tingler, and then Matinee. Because Matinee...
Or Murky.
I could remove an entire movie's worth of time from it, and it would probably make it better.
You mean the Majestic? You're speaking of the Majestic. But
yes,
yeah,
the Majestic.
So, yeah, would I say the Majestic measures up? No, I would agree that the Majestic doesn't entirely measure up because it is a movie that is very much 2001. It has a lot of the old film bones, but it also leads a lot into the modern cliches that make modern movies kind of just feel empty.
And in 2001, you can do a lot better green screen than that. A lot better.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially
a lot better
in
green screen. Yeah, and like
Jurassic Park did way better green screen back in '93.
It was '94. Yeah, '93, '94. Like, yeah.
Way better. I mean, that movie broke
like
a lot of molds, though. I mean, Jurassic Park's basically a perfect movie as well. But...
Yeah, the Majestic, like the fact that lighthouse scene is so glaringly bad is unforgivable.
And it was long. Like everything in this movie, it was too long. That scene was so long. That lighthouse scene.
It was. There was a lot of too long, and it does suffer from that 2001 standard of where they think a big blockbuster, heavy summer release movie, because it was a summer release movie. It was supposed to be the heavy drama of the summer.
And of Jim Carey's career. He wanted to become a dramatic actor from this.
Yes, it was before he got to do Sunshine.
Yeah, Sunshine's way better.
Yeah, right. And honestly, haven't watched that film. I have not watched that.
You've never seen Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind?
I've never seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay,
So
I've seen it once.
that someday.
So we can cover that. And I don't remember it very well, but I remember it was better than this. All right. Well, you know what? I think we've covered everything here. That's our podcast, how we're going to do it, people. I think, there was a lot of extra business to cover being our first episode, so I suspect the normal runtime will probably come in more like 2 hours, which is good to talk about 3 movies, because I talk about a 20-minute X-Men cartoon for almost 2 hours every week. So
yeah, we got a few wrinkles to iron out in this presentation of the show, but if you did enjoy watching this with us, I thank you for spending the time listening to 2 idiots ramble about movies that nobody's probably watched in the past 20 years, let alone.
But you should watch Matinee. We both
yes,
agree
you
on
should
that.
watch Matinee.
Go watch
Out of
it
all,
tonight.
if you're gonna watch any of the movies that we talked about today, Matinee is 100% worth your time and should be viewed by everybody at some point in their life.
Agreed.
You can leave the Majestic and the Tingler on the table. Depends on your
Your
general
taste.
preferences and views.
But no, here's
and
why.
taste.
Here's why you should have ranked Tingler above Matinee, because Tingler makes Matinee better. It does. It feels in context.
I will lead to the fact that Tingler does make Matinee better, but you could
Watch
watch
Tingler,
the
then
trailer. You could watch the trailer of the Tingler and watch Matinee and still.
Well,
the same
we already
taste.
gave them the trailer, so go watch Matinee.
There you go. Just go watch
All
Matinee.
right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end our show here with our coming attractions, where we will show you the trailers for next episode's movies. So we won't, like we did this episode where we showed you the trailers at the start. We're not going to do that next episode. You get the trailers at the end. So
I don't know. We'll discuss this because to be fair, I kind of liked rewatching the trailer before we discussed it.
I did too,
because
actually.
It gave me a bit of a
you're
refresher.
Right. All right, never mind. But we're still going to show them now.
And if nobody's ever seen the movie, they can watch the trailer and get a taste. But yes, for now, for next week's episode, watch these coming attractions. This is going to be the last you see. Wait, quick question.
Yeah.
Did you get the latest coming attractions that I sent you with the the proper ending with the UFP ending?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see what we get.
No, okay. Let me. I got this.
I'm sure I did. I just didn't watch it through.
Yeah. So let me do this one here.
No, because yours all have that green bar. I don't want to look at that green bar.
Well, let me just test first, and then we'll see. Do you see a green bar? Oh shit! I think it's doing.
Yep, it's there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do it. All right.
Okay, fine.
All right. See you later, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to bringing this podcast to you on a basically bi-weekly basis. Oh, we have a comment. One comment before we go, unless it's more of this. Oh, well, thank you. Merrick TV says, "Thanks, guys. Have a great night." You too, man. Thanks for
you too, brother. Thanks so much.
Or sister. Not sure. That's all right.
Oh wait. Sorry, it's not the coming attractions. It's the hold up curtains closed. Did you get the?
Oh yeah, I got that.
Closed? Okay. The one with the sound?
No.
Okay, I've got the one with sound. So you play coming attractions, and then I'll take this.
If it'll work, we'll see.
It'll work. I think it'll work.
All right. Later, everybody.
Love you guys.